Let's discuss some Locked On Spurs fan comments and then discuss what would be a successful Spurs season.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs and the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Glad to have y'all back. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen every single day. We definitely appreciate it. Keep subscribing wherever you get your favorite podcasts, such as iTunes, Spotify, even YouTube, the Ken's 5 Plus app. We are there for you every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get themselves $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. What are we talking about today? You see on your screen right there. We'll be discussing a couple of Locked On Spurs YouTube fan comments, then bringing our guest, Rudy Campos, will sweep the league. We're going to be asking what will be considered a successful Spurs season, and then get into some NBA Finals talk as Boston is up 2-0 on the Dallas Mavericks. But first, some of your Locked On Spurs YouTube comments. Comment is from Kenny, and he's reacting to yesterday's Locked On Spurs, where we asked if you could pick one player, Darius Garland or Lauri Markkanen, to throw the bag at, who would you do it and why? And we, well, at least I picked Darius Garland. Our guest yesterday picked Lauri Markkanen. But Kenny here, he says he could be talked into either honestly. And you're absolutely right, Kenny. It is close to a win-win situation. I still think that you lean towards a point guard. And Darius Garland is there if the Spurs decide to go and chase him. But to be talked into honestly, I mean, seriously, would you imagine waking up and reading the news that, oh, the Spurs picked up Garland? You're not going to be mad about that. Oh, the Spurs picked up Lauri Markkanen, made a deal for Lauri. Not going to be mad about that. It's a win-win. They both address the need for the Spurs. Point guard, another swing, stretch big for the Spurs. Lauri Markkanen, both are all-stars. Both are entering their prime years. So, yeah, I mean, they definitely would work in San Antonio. As everybody knows, it's just the asking price. What does Cleveland want? What does Utah want? You're in reports that Utah wants a haul for Lauri Markkanen. Darius maybe could be the cheaper route, but for me, I just got to go with the floor general. I think that's more important. You got to feed Wemby the ball. You got to feed Lauri if he used to come to San Antonio. But what's the point of doing that if you don't have anybody to run the show? So I think I would go Garland. But you know what, Kenny, you're absolutely right. Either would work in San Antonio. It's part of the rebuild. They got to fill needs, and those are needs right now. Stretch big, and of course the point guard spot. But thanks for that comment, Kenny. Really appreciate it. The next comment is from Jimmer. He says, why does everyone hate Trey Jones so much? To turn around and say the Spurs could get Tyus, they are the same player. We don't need a PG. For the 1,000th time I am saying this. I don't think everybody hates Trey Jones. Nobody hates him. Fans, they see him as a pretty good point guard. He's a decent point guard. But you hear the knock about, well, is he a starter material? Is he a bench player? I personally think, and I've had a show on Locked On Spurs about this, that I think they perhaps have the answer to the point guard spot already in their backyard, Trey Jones. The issue is just his open shots. He can't make them. Now, he did tell me after the season ended that that's one of the focuses, the 3-shot that he's going to be working on in the offseason. But again, I think hate's too strong. No, I don't think anybody hates Trey Jones. You just look at that point guard spot and it could use some beefing up. Imagine Trey Jones coming off the bench, and for example, you have Darius Garland starting. That's a nice 1-2 punch right there for your Spurs. So again, if you have to triage this, Jimmer, I think point guard spot is the number one need right now. You can either address it in the draft or in free agency or via trade. You heard a lot of reports, the Trae Young thing kind of cooled off, but Darius Garland popped up, DeJounte Murray, that's, maybe there's a little smoke there, but that's also cooled off. You're hearing Vegas odds, Chris Paul in San Antonio and whatnot. But again, nobody hates Trey Jones. He's adequate. He runs the floor. He distributes the ball. If you look at the numbers, he connected with Wemby the most this past season. So he knows who to feed. It's just a matter of beefing it up. And if you can get a point guard perhaps bigger and has a consistent outside shot, then I think you got to do it, So again, Jimmer, nobody hates Trey Jones, but there you have it. It's a couple of Locked On Spurs fan comments, and keep them coming. We're definitely going to read them as the offseason continues. Coming up next, we have Rudy Campos of Sweep the League. We're going to be discussing what would constitute a successful Spurs season. That's next right here on Locked On Spurs. Hey, I want to talk to you about FanDuel. You got to go to FanDuel right now. Go get that app. Go make an account. Do what you got to do. Get on FanDuel right now because summertime means baseball, the NBA Finals, and so much more. You can bet all on that on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get themselves $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. Yes, you heard that right. That's $200 that you can use to bet on everything from the NBA Finals to the MVP, who's going to knock one out of the park, so many other odds you can do and enjoy this sporting season right now with FanDuel. Look, parlays, they got that. Spreads, they got that. They got it all. It's user-friendly. It's intuitive. It doesn't take long to sign up. That's where you got to go get the FanDuel app right now or just make an account on your computer. So you want to go to FanDuel.com/lockedon right now. Add a big win to your summer bucket list right now by getting FanDuel. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Hey, want to talk about Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee? Go there right now. San Antonio, 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive. That's 281 to 1604 area. Take a drive out there. It is the best spot to get all your drinks in San Antonio. You need a latte. You need a cold brew. You need a coffee, such as their signature drink, the Mudslinger. Hey, do you need dairy alternatives? They got that. What about non-caffeinated drinks? They got that too. What about mini donuts? They got that as well. They have a big menu. Go get it right now. Go take that drive out to Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee, open every single day from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Friendly staff, as mentioned, they got a great menu. Heads up, they have a lightning bolt series that includes the Alien, which is a drink named after Victor Wembanyama. Well, they're power drinks, okay? Now, they're usually been made with Red Bull. Now, you can still get Red Bull right now, but the default will be Lotus Energy. 7 power plant extracts, has similar effects as caffeine that you'll find in Red Bull, but again, has 7 power plant extracts. Gives them flexibility to create more drinks for you. Go get yourself the Lightning Bolt drink. I've had it before. It's phenomenal. It's really good. Go get yourself one right now. So, what do you got to do, San Antonio? You got to follow them on social media at Mudslinger SATX. There you'll see their daily specials, new drinks, new announcements. They just celebrated a birthday. Go give them a happy belated birthday. You want to go to 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive, open every single day from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Mudslingers is a place to be. Go there right now because life is too short for bland coffee.
A Jedi uses the Force. To subscribe to Locked On Spurs, pass on what you have learned.
And back once again on Locked On Spurs is Campos of Sweep the League. You see it on there. See it on your screen right now. Follow them on X at Sweep the League. And I'm glad you're back, Rudy, because I want to thank you for giving me some passes to a Comic-Con this past weekend in San Antonio for YumiCon. I had fun. It was a bit of the small side, but nevertheless, I did pick up a new sweater, a Dragon Ball GT sweater. Yeah.
That was it was a small one. You're welcome for that. And honestly, I was looking for sweaters. I didn't see it.
Yeah, they were in the back, like way in the back, in like one of the most furthest row. And this kid, I wanted a Vegeta sweater, and they didn't have my size, so I went with the go. It was win-win. It was gonna be win-win. It was that one. Well, fine. But I ended up picking up the go. I wore it on yesterday's Locked On Spurs. So, nice. And I wore it on purpose because Pleasure was going to be on it. And you know, he's a big fan of that.
Yeah.
Again, thank you, Rudy. I appreciate it.
No worries, man. No worries. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I did. I had fun. So what are we talking about today? And why is Rudy here? We're going to be asking a very broad question. What would constitute, what would be a successful Spurs season next year? Is it just keep on rebuilding? Is that a success? Is it player development? Oh, look, more steps ahead for Blake Wesley and Malachi. Or is it playoffs or play in? So, Rudy, let's go ahead and dive into this real fast. And by the way, everybody, he is with Sweep the League. Make sure to follow him on YouTube at Sweep the League. Rudy will tell you all you need to know about that show, why you should subscribe right now. So, Rudy, when we look at this broad question, is it a little bit of column A, column B, column C, or is there one thing from one column you got to see the Spurs do next year to be a successful season, in your opinion?
So, it's basically column A, B, C, D, all the way to Z. Yeah. I mean, you've got so many things that you can point to have a successful season. The number one thing to be successful is to obviously gain more wins than what you previously had, which was 22. So Super successful. I'm talking making me giddy and making me feel that this team's on the right path is probably around the 28, 29 win mark, which I actually have them. If they bring the exact same team back, make no changes in the offseason, just kind of go with the draft picks that they're going to probably select. I'm pegging them right around that 27 win mark. So that's already a 5-game increase. Just seeing what Victor brings to the table, and then also the way they were developing towards the end of the season gives some hope that I give them another 5 wins on the season. So 27, maybe 28. Depending on what they do on the offseason, it could change. I don't think it goes down. So for me, win totals is the biggest priority when it comes to having a successful season next year.
Right. Okay. Well, the Spurs won 22 last year. I mean, what if they win 24? Isn't that a successful season? That's more. I mean, where is the bar? That's the big question. Where does the line go? If they win 26 or 27, as you said, is that a successful season? I mean, but it's still another missed playoffs, though.
It is, but also you've got to kind of figure, is 24 wins good for the Spurs? It's better than last season, but it's not success. I mean, you can give Victor alone another 2 to 3 victories on his own, which give you about 25. So for me, success is around that 27, 28 range mark. I don't see a play-in scenario unless they make some drastic moves. Even if they were to get 2 great players in the draft in the 4th and 8th spot, I don't see them making play-in spots. They're still kind of behind a lot of the teams, even though I've mentioned before that the West is going to go through a rapture. Basically, you're going to see a ton of teams make a whole bunch of changes and not look the same. Their talent still outweighs what the Spurs have, being that Wembanyama is strictly the only real talent we have in San Antonio right now.
Yeah, for me, I gotta see 30 wins or more. I gotta see. If I'm looking at that win total, this would be a successful season for me in that column. Is 30 wins or more. That would show me that this team is really on the right path as far as team chemistry and it kind of weaves in player development. As a matter of fact, Jeremy Sohan said that recently in an interview with a Spanish outlet, saying that sure, we can bring in player A, player B, we hear the noise, but ultimately it comes down to the current roster and their development. That would be a success. So I need to see, Branham take his steps forward. I need to see, should I even lump in Keldon at this point? I don't know if I
probably
should.
I would say yes, because I mean, again, I don't
still think
see
he has
them.
another gear in him. Do you think he has another gear?
It's not that he has another gear. I just think he has another year with the Spurs. It's hard for me to, like I said, unless they got some, trade in the works, I almost see the same team coming back. So you're going to have to do another year with Keldon Johnson. And, you mentioned 30 wins, but the thing is ask yourself this question. If 30 wins is the successful bar for you, if they bring back the exact same team, do you even see 30 wins?
I think I could because of how they ended the season. They really were in an upswing. I think they were finally getting accustomed to Wemby. Trey Jones was already solidified as the point guard, and I know that could be changed next season, but if we're just using what we have to work with from last year, there's that aspect. The rotations got understood a little bit better. You had just players really catching their rhythm. Devin Vassell, hopefully he stays healthy. I mean, that could be a success just for him, just to have a close to a full season. And then, of course, there was the Sohan debacle PG thing. It looked like they were trending the right way. All the players saw it. You saw it. Coaching staff saw it. Fans saw it. But so I do believe if they were to run it back, I would hope they would get close to 30. Barring no more experimentation, like, hey, let's experiment at Wemby at the 2. What? Nothing like that. But overall, I think this team could reach 30. Now, we talked about a little column A, column B, column C. You brought up something before we hit record, and it was a good point. What if they still have a poor season record-wise, 22, 25 wins, but they brought in quality players to help the rebuild? So what do you think about that? You brought it up. Just them focusing more on the rebuild and making the right steps, would that be a good, successful season?
So the right steps in the right direction, yes, that would be a successful season because say you're able to go out, and I'm just going to throw names out there, but the most popular names in the past couple of days have been Darius Garland and Larry Markkinen.
Yeah.
Those two guys, which let's be honest, the Spurs have the assets, they have everything, the capital to make that work. I mean, if you're looking at numbers wise, you're probably going to, for Darius Garland, you're going to take an upwards of minimum, about an average about $39 million for the next 4 years, roughly $40 million in the next 4 years. But then if you look at a guy like Larry Markkinen, I mean, you're only going to have him up until the end of the 2024-2025 season, which he's another $18 million going into next season. They have enough to make that work. Garland would obviously be your max player, and then you would swap a Keldon for a Larry Markkinen, and those numbers just pretty much match right there. So you're able to make that happen. You're able to get something like that going. Now, a team like that, Jeff, I mean, you're talking minimum. I mean, the absolute floor is play-in spot. That's enough talent to get them into the play-in spot. Is it a playoff team? I think what happens in the West, if what I'm feeling is going to happen in the West, you're talking about a possible playoff team with those guys added to the San Antonio Spurs. So if they are aggressive this offseason, then yeah, you're talking 30 wins is probably just a breath in the wind. I mean, it should happen with no hesitation. So it just depends on what the Spurs are going to do in the offseason. If they can make some moves to get them to the 30-plus win categories, then they can do that. I mean, it's not like they want to, sit on all this draft capital and all this, extra money they have and not do anything with it. They obviously want to make something happen, but it's how aggressive do they want to be this offseason?
Yeah, and I look at this team, like the bar is set low, 22 wins. What we saw last year on the court, outside of just the win totals, the bar is low, and I think they increased the bar a little bit of how they ended the season. So even Trey Jones told me at the end of the season that he felt the team gave fan base a glimpse of what could be the way they wrapped up the season. So it's there. Now, again, that's with the current roster. Now, of course, if they do swing a deal for Markkinen, Garland, or Murray, whoever, that changes everything. But what about the draft? Would you be considered a successful season if they draft right, draft out, trade up, trade down? How do you evaluate the draft as being part of what is considered a successful season?
So as far as the draft is concerned, it's kind of tough to say. There's nobody out there who's going to be,
and it's the worst draft.
Superstar.
It's the worst draft to ask this question because there's not many home run hitters.
Yeah, and I'm gonna put this because I'm definitely guilty of calling this one of the worst drafts ever, which it really is on paper. It really is one of the worst draft ever, but it's also a draft where you fill the voids that you're missing when it comes to position players, when it comes to guys who can actually just kind of help the team grow a little bit. So if you're taking a guy like one guy that we made a lot of noise about was Tajin Saloon. I mean, he's more of a project team. You're on a project team already with the San Antonio Spurs. You're trying to figure out the path you're going, trying to let the process go. So a player like him can develop into the type of player the Spurs want to have eventually. So a lot of these guys are project picks. You have a couple that are going to come in here right away, and they're going to be able to score maybe 10, 12 points a game. They're going to be, kind of what we saw from Keldon, kind of what we saw from Devin early when they started in their rookie seasons, just kind of contribute here and there. So this draft is based off of contributors. Now, for looking at the draft in general, I mean, again, you're not going to get the guys that are going to move the needle per se to get you to the playoffs. Could they get you into the play-in spot? Possibly. But I think the biggest win for the draft is if they probably move those two picks and get an established star. I think some teams out there are pretty thirsty. Phoenix is thirsty for draft picks. They don't have any draft picks coming up.
Brooklyn too.
Brooklyn is another one. Now, the rumblings of Mikal Bridges also being on the trade block. They would definitely want some picks for Mikal Bridges. Adding Mikal Bridges to San Antonio would be a huge, huge, huge benefit for them. But again, it's the asking point. I mean, if you can go get two players for the price of one, you're probably better off doing that. But when it comes to draft, I think for me right now, It's if you're giving superstar level players, all-star caliber players, and all it's going to cost you is these draft picks coming up. I'm pretty much all for it because it helps the process go quicker. But if you're not going to get anything to that level, then possibly trade down a little bit, get some more assets, get some more draft picks somewhere, or just take 4 and 8 and just let the cards fall where they will.
Yeah, and that's what I understand the Spurs fan base's frustrations because we had some fun with this question yesterday on Locked On Spurs marketing or Garland. Who would you throw the bag at if you could pick one? But they can pick both if they wanted to. They really could. And that's how much assets they have right now in hand to bring in 2 power players like that.
Yeah.
You answer your point guard spot, you answer your big man to pair with Wemby spot, and let's rock and roll. And yeah, you need multiple first round picks for marketing Utah. Here you go. Well, we can afford it. So and I understand the Spurs fans base that want to speed this up, but it is frustrating when you hear the Spurs say, Brian Wright say, no, we're going to take a cautious approach to the rebuild.
Yeah.
Slow steps. But look, Wemby says that he wants to win now. He's made it very clear. He wants to win very soon. So what you got to figure that's intangible too the Spurs are dealing with. But overall, before we hit the break here, if you had to kind of rank what would be a successful season for you, what would be 1 through 3? What would be your number one thing, 2 and 3?
Number one, I think is I'm going to just put it this way. Number one would be the aggressiveness in the offseason. Okay. That would have to be number one. Number 2 would be the player development of the player roster. And number 3 would actually just be add wins. I mean, plain and simple. If you get to 24 wins, that's 2+ more wins than what you had last season. Those 3 things in that order is probably falls into place because if you add the players, your development's going to be a lot better, which equals win totals. So that's how they kind of fall on my ladder. That's where I have it at 1, 2, 3. Biggest thing is the offseason. But again, when you made the comment about Wemby saying he wants to win now, I mean, if you're at the NBA level, Jeff, everybody wants to win right now. Yeah. They don't want to be on losing situations. But I think a comment like that would drive Spurs fans even crazy because they feel like, hey, Kawhi left. Wemby's going to leave if he's not winning, which really isn't the case. I mean, the Spurs have his contract. They have his rights for a very long time. But they're going to start winning here pretty soon.
Yeah, for me, it's win totals, player development on the current roster for those that may still be around if they don't get dealt. And then 3, aggressiveness in the offseason. I got to see them doing something with this mountain of assets they have. They got to move them. They have to move them. They cannot be drafting that many players left and right every season. So I got to see what they do with that. For me, that'll be a successful season, or I should say maybe a successful ongoing rebuild.
Yeah.
Hey, we're not done talking about your silver and black when we get back. We're kind of going to be talking about the silver and black. We're going to look at the NBA Finals, our thoughts. Derek White's been playing, former Spurs. I made a tie-in to the silver and black. So we'll be doing some NBA Finals talk, our impressions after 2 games. That's next right here on Locked On Spurs.
Oh, hey, this is Morty Smith and Cheese. You are listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia. Cheese.
Hey, this episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. If you're looking at online therapy as an option to help you get through your day, help you your life, etc., you want to give BetterHelp a try. Look, we all carry heavy burdens throughout our day, throughout our life, throughout our week, throughout our month, throughout our hour. Whatever it is, that heavy burden can start weighing on you, and it's good to get it out and talk to somebody who isn't biased towards your life or your life situation. That's where BetterHelp comes in. So instead of bottling it up, don't let it affect you negatively. Get it out. Go to BetterHelp right now. Therapy is a safe place to get things off your chest and to figure out how to work through whatever life is throwing your way or weighing you down. Look, it's not just for the bad things too. It's for the good things too. Maybe you want to continue doing the right things and you need some help continue on that path. That's where BetterHelp comes in. Look, it gives you positive learning skills, positive coping skills, helps you set boundaries, empowers you to be the best version of yourself. So yeah, as I mentioned too, it's not just for major traumas. It could be great things as well. So if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. You just fill out a brief questionnaire. You can match with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Get it off your chest with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get yourself 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. And we're joined by Rudy Campos, Sweep the League's very own. Make sure to follow him on X at Sweep the League and check out his show, Sweep the League, on YouTube. Just go to YouTube in the search bar, just do Sweep the League, hit that subscribe button. You're good to go. Fun times, good stuff. Him, the rest of the crew, they put on a great show. And what I like about it too, Rudy, is that you guys come in towards like latest evening-ish.
Mm-hmm.
You're filling up a spot that's void of local sports talk.
Yeah, we're taking up we're basically ending your day. So we're taking up the rear of the caboose per se. So yeah, as you're getting ready for bed, as you're getting ready, to tuck the kids in at night, just get that last bit of sports information. Like Jeff says, we bring a lot of it, not only sports, it's all about laughs. It's all about life stuff we talk about too, as well. So we just like having a bunch of fun before you end your night, man. So end it with Sweep the League.
Yeah, exactly. Rudy will tell you more about that in just a few minutes. But first, look, the Spurs aren't on the NBA Finals. Maybe they'll be there sooner or later. We'll see. Cross your fingers. But it's 0-2 to Dallas, 2-0 Boston. Dallas has just been looking out of sorts. When I look at these first two games, what stands out for me the most is, where's Kyrie Irving? Where is he? Where's that Kyrie Irving we saw leading up to the finals? He has been MIA. What do you think? Is that just more Boston shutting him down, or is that just Kyrie just not showing up? Because we've seen it do it before. Remember in Cleveland, he didn't show up in a couple of the big games when that was paired with LeBron. So what do you think is going on with Dallas?
So with Dallas's problem is that, Boston has four guys who can defend, three of them, primary defenders in Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, and Derek White. Those guys were going to make it tough for Luka and Kyrie to begin with. So knowing that Kyrie's getting, Drew Holiday or Derek White plus Jaylen Brown, who actually Jaylen started off on Kyrie, it's just making life tough. Now, let's not be real. Kyrie's having a pretty bad shooting series already. And it's bad because he's taking tougher shots. He is getting to the basket a little bit. He is scoring some, but Boston's doing what they're supposed to do. Their whole primary is, if Luka's going to beat us, Luka's going to beat us. And that's the case with Boston. They're not allowing Kyrie to be, the Robin to Luka's Batman. Yeah. So loving the fact that Boston is playing, great defense. Joe Mazzulla has them playing fantastic defense. The bonus part about Kyrie is that, when he gets to the basket, he's got a shot blocker and Kristaps Porzingis who's waiting for him as well. So they're just making it tough all around for Dallas, which that's kind of the way I was feeling. I was thinking it was going to go 6 games, Boston winning in 6, but the last couple of games have kind of shown the defensive priority that Dallas has put on Boston has put on the Dallas players. I'm thinking it may even go 5 now. I think Dallas still wins 1 game at home, but Boston is just too loaded and too good right now.
Yeah. But by the way, is Porzingis, was he prototype Wemby before Wemby? When I look at Porzingis out there, it's like, man, that's like weirdly odd. Like it feels like I'm watching like a prototype of Wemby, like version 0.01 before Wemby came. Yeah, I mean, I think even Wemby got a little bit of comps with Porzingis coming out right into the NBA.
Yeah, he did. And the only difference is Wemby is a way better defender. And I'm not even, man, that's saying a lot because Porzingis, as you can tell, is a really good defender.
Again, I'm saying prototype Wemby. I'm not saying a comparison, like a full-on duplicate. I'm just saying Porzingis just reminds me of that mold that they had. Like, okay, this is a good mold. This is a good start. And but you've been a fan of Kristaps, right?
Yeah, I have. When he was drafted into New York, the guy is a really, really good player, and he's just one of those cases where injuries have just kept him.
Yeah, I killed him.
It's been really bad for him, but also he's the biggest comparison between him and Wemby is the ball handling. It's the shooting. It's the ability to score, play in the paint, play on the play off 3-point line. Like I said, Wemby's a better defender overall when it comes to shot blocking. But both guys are great defenders. The only thing is that where Wemby can be the focal point, Porzingis can't really be the focal point. When he was the main guy in New York, it was just a little bit too much for him to handle. Not a knock on Chris Paul at all, but he's found his niche with Boston. He doesn't have to be the main guy, and that's actually beneficial to his game. But yeah, the similarities between him and Wemby are very, very, very close.
Yeah,
very weird, but it's very close.
I'm watching Chris Adams. I'm like, weird. That's kind of reminds me a little bit of Wemby, but it's like prototype Wemby. Everybody, prototype. I'm not saying duplicate, prototype. You brought up Derek White, and man, what a player that Boston got, man. I mean, you see what he's doing. He's just shutting players down. I mean, he's like a football player out there, intercepting passes, like long passes, still catching them out. Blocking shots, doing everything. When he was a Spur, and remember there was like a kind of like a moment where it was fans were discussing him or DeJounte Murray. Something's got to give. I was kind of like, you want to keep Derek White more so than the DeJounte Murray. But I mean, he's having a great series. But I don't. Are you there yet to say? I mean, I guess you are. You're pretty much saying that Dallas is cooked, right? Are you still got to see one more game before you go there?
Well, I think I'm going to go one more game, even if Dallas wins game 3, which I'm kind of thinking they're going to win game 3. I got to see how they play. If it's kind of like, okay, they got the win, but it wasn't a convincing win. I'm going to just say this: Dallas is cooked on winning the series. Now, Boston will win the series, but it's just how many games will Dallas actually win. Right now, I think last time we talked, Dallas was cooked on one side. They got turned over. They're cooked on this side, and you're just kind of waiting for, the rest of the meat to finish cooking. So that's kind of what it is right now. But I'm not throwing in the towel yet. I believe 5 teams in the past have come back from an 0-2 deficit in the NBA Finals. The last one, I think, was Dallas against Miami. Miami came back and beat Dallas in the finals, or I think it was something like that, if I remember. Dallas came back and beat them. But I don't count them out until it's actually maybe 3-0, 3-1. But personally, I think Dallas is probably good for one more game. I don't see them winning more than, like I said, I think now it's 5 games at the most.
Yeah. And look, I wanted a competitive series, and I was like, I'm not getting that. I wanted this thing to be down to the wire, split in Boston, and we're going back to Dallas. And so far, maybe game 2 was a little entertaining, at least for half-ish. And then it kind of, it went south for Dallas. But, I knew it was over when Pritchard hit that long distance 3 to end that. And what a boneheaded idea to burn your review early in the game, Dallas, when you could have used it in that foul. I mean, Washington got fouled. There's no doubt about it. He got pushed in the back by Jaylen Brown, and he got hacked in the hand by Jaylen Brown and Derek White. You use that review, then it's a whole other game. Maybe we go to overtime. Maybe Dallas wins. So, but I'm going with the gentleman's sweep. I think it's going to get 5. Boston is just too big, too strong. The wave of defenders. They're practically, they are undefeated on the road. That is just, whew.
It's tough. And that's it shows how far Boston has come. It shows how far Boston has come. And, it was funny because I think Bob Meyer the other night or last night said that the thing that they should go is give Brad Stevens the MVP of the finals because of the team that he built. I mean, they have a really good team in Boston. I can't lie, but the whole Derek White thing, it's a sore subject for Spurs fans, Jeff, because Derek is former Spur. I had him above DeJounte Murray when it came to point guards for the Spurs. But if you don't lose Derek White, you don't lose DeJounte Murray, then you don't draft Victor Wembanyama. So that's the omelet. You had to break those eggs to get the omelet to made. And that's kind of what we have to stand in as Spurs fans and, people that cover the Spurs.
Absolutely. Hey, by the way, quick shout out to the San Antonio Brahmas. Way to go, Brahmas.
Yeah.
The XFL Conference Championship. One more game and they could win it all. But shout out to them, Rudy. A championship could come to San Antonio, Rudy. It could happen.
It could happen. The Brahmas have been playing great all season long. They're just been phenomenal. Wade Phillips has done a fantastic job with the Brahmas. Could we see a title come to San Antonio? It's honestly a coin flip, man. It really is a coin flip. The Stallions, who they're playing against, is a they're a very, very tough team as well. So it's kind of a coin flip. But nonetheless, I mean, 2 years into the league and you're already in the championship game, which, I mean, yeah, it's 2 years, it's 2 years. But still, I mean, the Brahmas are playing fantastic. If they get a title, do they get a river parade? That's the question, Jeff, if they win that title.
I think they should. I think they should. It's a championship. It's a professional championship. I think they should, but nevertheless, shout out to them. And it's a good segue too, because although this is Locked On Spurs, not Locked On XFL, but you guys probably going to be talking about it on your show, Sweep the League. Tell us about it. What's cooking?
Yeah, so again, we're coming to you every single night. We come about 9:00 Central, 8:30 Central. So for those on the East Coast, which shout out to everybody in New York. We've got a Sports Insanity network up there that we're a part of. So they're in the New York area. But yeah, we're talking NFL. We're talking NBA Finals. We get a lot of Spurs talk. Obviously, a lot of our comments are Spurs related or Cowboys related. So we're talking all your local teams, but also, yeah, the Brahmas, we're going to be mentioning them as well. Plus, something's cooking, man, because I had Pledger, who's a good friend of ours, last week, and I told him I'd give you a hard time for introducing me to anime because I finally finished Hunter x Hunter. And that was a devastating last few episodes. And I told him I hadn't cried over something like that since Atreyo and Artex and Never Ending Story. So that was a heartbreaker, Jeff. I'm on to my next anime series here.
Yeah. Well, there's plenty of them out there. Yeah, there's so much. In fact, I get overwhelmed. I'm like, I don't even know where to begin anymore. I finished one. It's like any, mini, miny, mo. Perfect. Go. Let's rock and roll. Yeah. But again, check out Sweep the League on YouTube. Make sure you do that right now. We'll be back tomorrow. I believe Jack Thompson will be joining us again. We're going to put another draft prospect in the hot seat should the Spurs pick them or not. And then, yeah, just all things silver and black as this offseason continues. Again, follow Rudy on X at Sweep the League and subscribe to Locked On Spurs wherever you get your favorite podcasts, Google Play, iTunes, Spotify, Ken's 5 Plus app. The list goes on and on. So for Rudy Campos, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.